Hello guys, welcome to my channel Lucid Fanfic, and if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. So be sure to stick around until the end, and let's get started. Somewhere in the depths of space, a man lay bleeding, clutching a gaping wound, his body racked with violent coughs that expelled thick, dark crimson fluid. An eerie voice echoed around him. The man clutched a silver sphere in his remaining hand, as if his life depended on it. "You have lost." The man coughed again, more vital fluid spewing from his lips. His arm had been severed, but through the pain, he managed a toothy grin, which only enraged the figure obscured in the shadows. Red eyes glowed menacingly from the darkness. "You will never," the man wheezed, each word a struggle. "Get the Omnitrix, Vilgax." "I beg to differ," Vilgax replied coldly. "You can barely speak. Your throat is scorched. You were a fine warrior, dragon of the—" He paused as the dying man chuckled, his vision dimming. Vilgax crouched down, prying the sphere from the man's weakening grasp. The man managed to question the warlord's actions, his voice faint. "Why not just finish me?" "Oh, I will," Vilgax growled. "But before you die, I want to see the look on your face when you've realized you've failed. The universe will fall, and there is not a being that dares stands in my way." With growing anticipation, Vilgax opened the pod. His expression of excitement quickly turned to rage. What is this? Where is the Omnitrix? As he pulled out the contents of the pod, the only thing inside was what appeared to be a photo. Vilgax crushed it in his hand, and then he heard a small chuckle. He turned to the man, his glare filled with fury. "Oh, did I mix it with the laundry again? My bad." In a fit of rage, Vilgax clenched his cybernetic arm and punched a hole right through the man's chest. As the man felt the searing pain, only a few thoughts remained in his mind. "I'm sorry, Inko, but it doesn't look like I'm coming home. I never got to tell Izuku how much I love him. I hope he knows that even without a quirk, he will be the greatest hero. Oh, and Inko, my dear Inko, I can't imagine my life without you. Please don't cry." He let out a small chuckle. "Oh, who am I kidding? You're going to drown our son in those tears. But that's one of the many reasons I love you so much. I hope you know I'm sorry I didn't tell you about this life. I didn't want to make you worry." But as Vilgax pulled his fist from the man's chest and began to walk away, his arm dripping with vital fluid, he heard the man speak. "Vilgax, I hope you find it in your heart to forgive me. The Omnitrix is en route to my DNA signature, but the only remaining match is Izuku, and right now, he's 10 years old. Judging by the distance, the Omnitrix should reach the boy when he's around 15. I'm sorry this burden falls on you." The being turned around to see the man holding a trigger in his hand. Vilgax widened his eyes in shock and fear. "A fusion grenade? Not just any fusion grenade. This baby will destroy your entire ship and fleet. This was your plan from the beginning, wasn't it? I know this won't unalive you, but it will give the universe a good 6 years of peace before you get back up again. Until then, there will be a hero who will rise and end your reign." As he pressed the button, a deafening roar erupted, and a blinding flash consumed everything. The explosion surged outward with a force that ripped through the vacuum of space, creating a shockwave that shattered the silence of the cosmos. Flames erupted from the warships, illuminating the dark void with a hellish glow. Debris rained down like shooting stars, scattering remnants of the once mighty armada in every direction. Back on Earth, a woman and her 10-year-old son were home. Inko Midoriya had been making her son some katsudan. It was the young boy's birthday, and even though he had no quirk and was constantly picked on by others, he never lost the smile on his face. The boy himself looked excited to spend his birthday, even though he didn't have many friends. Scratch that. He had no friends. He felt like a complete reject in the eyes of society, but his mother always made his birthdays feel special. "Mom, is it ready yet? I'm so hungry. Hold your horses, young man. It's almost ready. Oh, and I heard you made a friend today?" The 10-year-old Izuku Midoriya nodded rapidly. "His name is Kevin Levin. He was being picked on, so he stepped in. I didn't exactly help, but he showed them who's boss. He beat them all up. Sounds like a rough one. When he found out I was quirkless, he didn't judge me. Instead, he told me I was insane for picking a fight with gang members without a quirk. That sounds..." The woman had a blank expression before realizing what her boy had just said. "Gang members? Honey, what?" She began shaking him over and over with a panicked expression, and the boy just had swirls in his eyes. Their conversation was interrupted by a knock on the door. Inko was confused as she thought to herself, who could be here at this late hour? Midoriya's eyes sparkled with excitement. Maybe it's Dad. He always comes to my birthday. Inko looked at her son before smiling. Yeah, that man always finds a way. She approached the door and opened it to find a strange man with a clearly mutant-type quirk, surprisingly wearing a fishbowl on his head. Oh, can I help you? Hello, Mrs. Midoriya. I'm Labrid. I work with your husband back in the States. Oh, nice to meet you, Mr. Labrid. Is my husband with you? The man visibly flinched and clenched his fists, as the words he was about to say were difficult to articulate, especially since they weren't the full truth. Inko's world seemed to shatter around her. She had been told her husband had died in an explosion in a car accident back in the States. Her heart broke. With a shaky voice, she managed to speak. Thank you. Thank you. Hisashi Midoriya has left a large sum of money enough to keep you in luxury for the next 30 years. All I need to speak with my son. Mom. She flinched as her son walked toward her. Was that Dad? She turned to him, trying to keep a brave smile on her face. Honey, your father isn't coming home. Really? But he always comes on my birthday. Izuku, he won't be coming home. Izuku saw the distraught expression on his mother's face. The boy immediately wrapped his arms around her. Everything is going to be okay, because I am here. She closed her arms around him and began to cry. It wasn't the usual tears, but those of deep sadness, as she wept into her son's shoulder. They embraced in a loving moment. 5 years later, Izuku Midoriya, now 15 years old, had been cleaning up Dagaoba Beach as part of his training for One for All. After 6 grueling hours of work, he was drenched in sweat, his muscles burning from exertion. All Might watched the boy's progress, impressed by his perseverance, and decided to reward him with a treat for his hard work. He left Izuku to his own devices. I've got to push myself even more. With a mighty yell, Izuku grabbed an old tire, dragging it through the sand. The tire, clearly from a dump truck, was heavy and reeked of age and neglect. Each pull left deep imprints in the sand, and sweat dripped down his forehead as he exerted every ounce of strength. As he pushed the tire, Midoriya began to reminisce about his past meeting All Might and being offered One for All. The memories fueled his determination, driving him to push harder against the weight of the tire. 3 months ago, the school day finally came to an end. Izuku Midoriya scrolled through his phone, reading up on the incident from the morning. As he reached for his hero notebook, it was suddenly swiped away. Katsuki Bakugu, an old friend turned bully, held the notebook up. We ain't done here, Deku. Bakugu's cronies laughed and jeered upon seeing the title of the notebook. See, come on, give it back. Midoriya pleaded with the explosive boy. Bakugu sneered, clapping his hands together and destroying the notebook with an explosion. Izuku yelped in surprise as Bakugu, without a care, threw the remnants out of the window. The best heroes out there showed signs of greatness, even as students. I'm a perfectionist. I'll be the first and only hero from this crappy public middle school. The first to win the honor of becoming a UA student. Bakuga sneered, grabbing Izuku's shoulder. Smoke rose from his grip. In other words, don't apply to UA. Midoriya was shaking, sweat dripping from his face. He couldn't even look Bakugu in the eye for fear of what his tormentor would do. Even so, he tried to say something, but words failed him as a lump formed in his throat. Suddenly, a firm hand grabbed his shoulder and flung him away while pushing the blonde aside. The hell? Bakugu's 2 cronies backed away, their previous mocking of the quirkless boy replaced by fear as a new presence appeared, glaring at them. Sheesh, I thought heroes were supposed to protect people, not belittle everything about them. A mocking voice sneered back at the blonde. Bakugu immediately felt his mood sour as he glared at the boy. Levin, he spat, venom dripping from his tone. One of the cronies, known as Yubi, quivered behind Bakugu. What are you doing here? I don't know. Maybe to stop 3 idiots from picking on my friend. Bakugu could only scoff. You know, if you stopped protecting this nerd, you'd probably have it easier at this school. If my memory serves me correctly, you have so much on your permanent record that you're never getting into a hero school. Bakugu and his cronies were about to leave when Bakugu paused, a smug look on his face. You know, you might actually be useful if you had a quirk. Why don't you take a swan dive off the building and pray for a quirk in your next life? Kevin's eyes widened. He absorbed the ground beneath him. Bakugo only grinned as explosions crackled around his palm. Before Kevin could react, he felt someone grab his forearm. He turned to see Izuku, head down, shaking from side to side. Kevin looked at him. TCH. Bakugo could only scoff before he left with his two friends. Kevin could only glare as Midoriya could only look down in shame ever since they got into thanks to Bakugo, basically shouting to the whole school of his quirkless nature. The school made it the absolute mission to make the boy's life a living hell. At least that would have happened if it weren't for Kevin Levin basically threatening the school that if anyone touches him, they won't be able to eat without a straw for a month. Most didn't take this threat seriously, and that is where they made the mistake. One day Midoriya was heading home when he was ganged up on by 5 upperclassmen who were eager to get the stress off and attack the boy using their quirks, but when Kevin saw what they were doing, well, he kept his promise. Due to this incident, those with common sense stayed clear away from both of them. However, the teachers and staff only heard one side of the incident. Instead of the boy protecting his friend from the bullies, he was a delinquent who beat them for nothing. Midoriya tried everything to tell them what happened, but they didn't want to listen to the quirkless kid. Kevin was enraged, even though he was given a warning after warning. Anyone who would even attempt to bully his friend, he dealt with them. However, the students were puzzled as to why he was protecting the quirkless loser, even though he got nothing but a record for violence. Midoriya asked why would he go so far. His answer? Because we're friends, you idiot. Anyone wants to pick a fight with you, they'll have to pick a fight with me. I got your back, and you got mine. Midoriya didn't like the fact his friend was fighting people for him, so instead of being his weak, quirkless friend that he had to protect, he fought side by side. Well, more like he tried fighting, but immediately got pummeled. But Kevin found it hilarious that even though he was quirkless and no power to speak of, he would fight alongside him, even though it meant he would have a record. Bakugo's voice brought them back to reality. Both of you losers won't get into UA with those records. Don't even apply. He was interrupted by Kevin, who let out a long yawn. Sheesh, I can't take this. Izuku, let's leave Blasty here with his sorry excuse for friends. Oh, okay, Midoriya replied, grabbing his bag as they walked away, much to Bakugo's annoyance. Thanks again for, dealing with Kakin. Why do you still call that idiot Kakin? Kevin asked, glancing at him. It's honestly annoying watching you kiss that asshat's butt. But Kakin is strong and amazing? Seriously? No offense, Izuku, but admiring a guy like that doesn't show kindness. It just shows how you won't stand up for yourself. Kevin said bluntly, a light glare directed at his friend. You're not being pure-hearted. You're just letting him walk all over you. Izuku looked down, feeling the familiar weight of their conversation. They had gone over this time and time again, and Kevin never hesitated to challenge him when he praised Bakugo. I get it, but he's just complicated. I know he can be an idiot, but deep down, Kevin scoffed. You think there's some hidden gem in that explosive ego of his? Look, I know you want to see the good in people, but sometimes you just have to face reality. He's not worth your admiration. He's not worth your respect. You owe him nothing. Midoriya remained silent as they continued walking, wrestling with Kevin's words. Anyway, I've got to work on my car. I'll see you later. Wait, you're still working on that car? I thought you found it in a junkyard. I did, but when I'm done with it, it'll go from a junk pile to a horsepower demon on wheels. Don't you need a license for that? Hey, I already have a record. What's one more? As Kevin left, Izuku waved goodbye before turning back to retrieve his hero journal. He didn't want Kevin to know what Kakin had done to his notebook, knowing it would only provoke a fight between them. So he went back to get it. Later, he was attacked by a sludge villain and saved by All Might, his idol hero, only to grab onto him and fly through the air before landing on a roof. All Might, looking at the boy, could only stop for a moment before eyeing the boy carefully. He looks like can be a hero even though I don't have a quirk. All Might's throats were cut off by the boy's question. Unfortunately, All Might couldn't give him the answer he so desperately wanted to hear. Everyone told him he could never be a hero. Even his longtime friend Kevin thought his chances were zero. That's what friend did, gave a truthful answer, even if it might hurt you. After discovering his true form, All Might gave him the boy an answer which was no. I should be more realistic. Now he stood gripping his backpack alone on the rooftop, his dreams crushed by the #1 hero. Later, All Might was proven wrong as this seemingly quirkless boy ran into a dangerous situation to save the life of a classmate. He had no plan, and he had no powers yet when pro-heroes froze at the scene, including All Might himself. He's the only who acted. With the boys' bravery, his ingenuity, the pro-hero couldn't help but be reminded of certain fire-breathing friend. After he had saved the boy and defeated the villain, he met up with the boy, but before he could offer him his quirk, he just had to know the boy's name. "Young man, now tell me your name." "Izuku Midoriya." All Might widened in shock. He then began to inspect the boy more closely before bursting into roaring laughter. "Midoriya? Huh, haven't heard that name in a while. Hisashi, you kept spouting that your son would be the greatest hero. I thought you were being a parent, but now I see him and met him. I can't help but agree, old friend. All Might, I deem you worthy of my power. My quirk is yours to inherit." Flashback over. All Might had just finished purchasing 2 meat buns, a smile of satisfaction crossing his face. But his contentment quickly dissolved when a bright light streaked across the sky, like a shooting star, but with an intensity that sent chills down his spine. The light grew larger, brighter, and began descending rapidly. His heart sank. It's heading for Dagoba Beach. With the realization, All Might dropped his buns, transforming instantly into his muscle form. "Young Midoriya," he shouted, sprinting at full speed towards the beach, knowing disaster was imminent. At the trash-littered beach, Izuku Midoriya stood frozen, staring up as something plummeted toward the earth at blinding speed. Thum! Without warning, the sky erupted. The object tore through the atmosphere, shattering the clouds with a deafening boom. Midoriya widened his eyes in horror as the shockwave hit, sending trash and sand flying in all directions. The blast was so powerful it knocked him to the ground, scattering debris around the beach like an explosion at a landfill. The dust cloud that followed was thick, choking, and it enveloped everything. Midoriya coughed, stumbling to his feet, unable to see anything through the suffocating sand cloud. Well, what was that? As the dust began to settle, Izuku noticed something glowing in the distance. His eyes locked onto a bright, pulsating orange sphere in the new crater within the sand. Midoriya's curiosity pulled him closer. The heat radiating from the sphere was palpable, distorting the air around it like a furnace. When he got near, he saw that it wasn't just a random object, it was a metallic pod of some kind. The pod hissed, and with a mechanical whir, it began to retract and open. As it did, a vivid green glow bathed the trash-filled beach. Inside the pod was a strange device, unlike anything Midoriya had ever seen. "A watch," he muttered. But this wasn't just any ordinary watch. Its design was sleek and futuristic, green and black with white accents, and the central dial glowed with the same bright green hue that lit up the pod. It seemed far more advanced than anything on Earth. The bands were thick and sturdy, the faceplate an hourglass-like symbol. "What's a watch doing in outer space?" Midoriya whispered, his heart racing. The heat from the impact still lingered in the air, but Midoriya's curiosity overrode any sense of danger. Slowly, he extended his hand toward the device, the eerie green light reflecting in his wide, emerald eyes. Suddenly, the green glow intensified, and to his shock, the strange device leaped out of its pod and latched itself onto his wrist. What the? Midoriya yelped, stumbling backward in a panic. He desperately tried to shake it off, pulling and prying at the device, but it wouldn't budge. "Get off! Get off!" he shouted, his heart racing with panic. Realizing the watch wasn't going to come off anytime soon, Midoriya calmed himself enough to start fiddling with the faceplate. His fingers grazed over the smooth surface until, unexpectedly, he found what seemed to be an activation button. The faceplate popped up with a soft click, the hourglass symbol vanishing as it was replaced by a bright green light, almost blinding him. Midoriya shielded his eyes with his free hand, squinting against the sudden brightness. After a few moments, the light dimmed, and he lowered his hand. His breath caught in his throat. Hovering above the faceplate, made of what looked like green holographic light, was the image of a jellyfish-like creature. Jellyfish? Weird-looking jellyfish, but definitely a jellyfish. Izuku's curiosity piqued as he turned the dial, revealing another figure. This one wasn't a jellyfish. Instead, had been what seemed to be a man on fire. This is all cool, but doesn't exactly help me in getting you off. Maybe if I press this. As he pressed down the dial, he widened as the boy was engulfed in a green light. It was all sudden as DNA was being altered. The boy felt no pain as his body seemingly transformed. He opened his eyes, and what stood where the boy was a plasma-based life form, engulfed in green flames. Oh, I'm on fire. The boy immediately went into a panic, running around the beach as the boy, seeing the ocean, immediately dove into hopefully the water that would extinguish his flames. The small waves washed over him with a hiss of steam, putting out the flames. Izuku sighed in relief, only for the flames to burst, coming back to life, causing more steam to rise. Finally realizing that his body didn't feel like it was on fire. Calming down and taking a deep breath. Hey, I'm on fire, but I'm okay. The boy got out of the water as the waves caused him some mild pain. He looked himself over as if instincts took over. The boy created a fireball in his palm, and he widened before clenching his fist. I have a quirk, and a fire one at that. What else can I do? A long-forgotten memory surged to the surface. The countless times he had desperately tried to breathe fire like his father, but had failed miserably. He had stomped his foot to the ground, inhaled deeply, and unleashed a massive wave of flames that melted the trash before him. The flames burned a brilliant green, just like his father's. He closed his mouth, fighting back tears of joy. That I'm just like you. Boom. With a thunderous crash, All Might landed in a superhero pose. A scowl etched across his face as he glared at the alien before him. A Prionite. What have you done with young Midoriya? Midoriya's heart raced with terror as All Might glared at him like a villain. He had never seen this side of the pro-hero, and it sent chills down his spine. Wait. All Might, it's me. The pro-hero showed no signs of backing down as he cracked his knuckles and began advancing toward the alien. In a moment of desperation, Midoriya realized he had to act fast. One for all. All Might halted, his expression shifting to one of curiosity as he looked at the fiery alien. You planned on giving me one for all. I know about your injury. So please, for the love of God, don't pummel me. All Might's eyes widened in disbelief. Young Midoriya? He asked, waiting for some form of clarification. The fiery alien nodded, a sense of urgency building within him as he noticed the symbol emblazoned on his chest. So the rumors are true. The Omnitrix is real. This has become more complicated than I thought. That is quite the story, young man, All Might said, sitting beside Midoriya, who was still in his Pyronite form. The two sat around a campfire, the dark night illuminated by the orange flames of the fire and the green flames flickering from Midoriya's body as he retold how the mysterious device had latched onto him. It's getting late. Mom must be so worried about me. Well, we can't exactly have you show up looking like this. Your mother will have questions that we don't have answers for. Yeah, I guess it would be pretty bad if I showed up looking like a monster in front of her. You're not a monster, you're an alien. All Might corrected, though his tone was gentle. Midoriya looked confused. I mean, just look at yourself. What else could you be? Anyway, we should focus on figuring out how to turn you back. Midoriya immediately panicked, trying to think of a way but coming up empty. Well, young Midoriya, you've studied a lot about quirks. How do transformation types usually revert back? Midoriya put a finger to his chin, thinking through his vast knowledge of quirks. There are generally two ways. 1. There's a time limit. It can vary from 10 minutes to several hours, depending on a person's stamina and physical condition. All Might nodded thoughtfully. Your recent training has significantly increased your stamina. Even after training for more than 3 hours today, you don't seem fatigued. Midoriya continued. The other way is through mastery of the quirk. But usually, people revert back if they're knocked out or completely exhausted. It's been over an hour since you transformed, so I believe it's the latter, All Might reasoned. At this rate, you could stay like this for several more hours. Hours? Midoriya exclaimed, panic rising in his voice. What are we gonna do? I have an idea, but it might hurt. A lot. With a puff of smoke, All Might transformed into his hero form. Midoriya quickly realized his intentions as the pro-hero cracked his knuckles. Midoriya gulped nervously. This is gonna hurt, isn't it? With a powerful smash, All Might delivered a right hook, sending the boy flying. As Izuku landed, a green flash illuminated the area. All Might looked over to see the boy knocked out, now back in his human form. He'll be out for about an hour. I should inform Nizu. If the Omnitrix is here, then he won't be far behind. All Might pulled out his phone and dialed a number. After a few rings, someone answered. Tashinori? To what do I owe this call? Nizu, we may have a problem. I recently met a quirkless boy with an incredible amount of heroic potential. I see. You're planning to give this young man. The boy's name is Izuku Midoriya. All Might interrupted. On the other end, Nizu froze, his eyes widening as if he'd seen a ghost. His cup of tea slipped from his grasp. I see. If he's anything like him, then I believe you've made the right choice. I do miss that man, his constant muttering. Nizu mused, momentarily lost in thought. But he quickly snapped back to the present. Well, something extraordinary happened today. Do you remember Hisashi's last mission? I wasn't given all the details since I'm not exactly a plumber. Yes, I remember, Nizu replied. Hisashi was tasked with protecting a piece of DNA technology from Vilgax's clutches. The battle raged across the galaxy, and after Vilgax disappeared, rumors spread that the DNA technology was, in fact, the Omnitrix, the most powerful device in the universe. But no one has ever confirmed its existence. Well, the rumors are true. The Omnitrix does exist, and it's attached to one Izuku Midoriya. Nizu closed his eyes, processing the information. That's troubling. Please bring him to UA tomorrow. Early morning, if you can. Understood. All Might hung up, only to hear a groan from Izuku. All Might. Maybe I hit him a little too hard, he thought to himself as he walked over to the boy and picked him up and proceeded to the young hero's home as Midoriya snoozed away on All Might's back. Next day, the birds were out, and people were waking up to the start of their day. Izuku Midoriya also woke up, starting what could only be described as a strange day. As he stared at the strange device latched onto his wrist, the events of the previous night replayed in his mind. Guess it wasn't a dream, Midoriya thought with curiosity, staring at the black and green device. He glanced around, making sure no one was watching him. Pressing the 2 rings on the Omnitrix, it popped open, revealing a holographic figure of the flaming alien form from last night. Cool. Izuku turned the dial and was surprised to see another alien form. This one had 4 arms and seemed to have immense strength. He kept turning the dial, discovering a silhouette of a jellyfish, and continuing through the rest, finding a total of 10 different forms within the watch. There's a total of 10 forms, and based on yesterday, they probably each have unique abilities, he muttered to himself. Midoriya got out of bed, grabbed his phone, and found a message from All Might. Young Midoriya, please come to UA at your earliest convenience. We need to discuss the matter of the strange device. Make sure you arrive by 10:30. Checking the time, Midoriya's eyes widened. It was already 9:50. Oh no, he shouted, rushing to take a quick shower. After putting on clothes and grabbing his red shoes, he bolted out the door. Izuku, where are you going? You haven't had breakfast yet. His mother called. Sorry, Mom. I have to meet with someone. He shouted back, already sprinting down the street. As he ran, he checked the time again and realized he was going to be late. Oh no, what am I going to do? I don't want to let All Might down. Just then, like a miracle, Kevin Levin, his best friend, pulled up in a green muscle car. Midoriya stopped in awe as Kevin grinned brightly. Whoa, you actually fixed it. You rebuilt it from the ground up. With a smug grin, Kevin nodded. Yeah, I'm awesome. It took me 2 years, but all the hard work paid off. Even though I might not get into any high school, I've got a friend who's willing to give me a chance. Once I show them this high-powered baby, things will look up for me. Midoriya admired the car, feeling proud of Kevin's accomplishment. It looks incredible. So, can I get a ride? Yeah, wait, oh no? Do you mind dropping me off at UA? Kevin raised an eyebrow. UA? Why? Please. Midoriya pleaded, clasping his hands together. Kevin shrugged, thinking it was just one of Midoriya's odd requests. All right, hop in. As they sped down the road, Midoriya held on tightly, looking panicked. You know how to drive, right? TCH, Kevin smirked confidently. Do I know how to drive? He replied rhetorically, pushing the car to full speed as if to test it out. Kevin seemed to be having the time of his life, but Midoriya looked like he was about to pass out. A few minutes later, Midoriya was foaming at the mouth, while Kevin burst into laughter. I thought I was going to die, Midoriya groaned. Oh, don't be a baby. A little thrill won't hurt you. Now get out, I've got stuff to do, Kevin said, still grinning. Midoriya waved at his friend as he exited the car. Just then, a booming voice caught his attention. "Young Midoriya, you arrived on time, just as I asked. Here, take this." All Might called out, standing nearby with a serious look. All Might handed Izuku a visitor pass, his eyes narrowing slightly as he glanced at Levin. "That was your friend Levin, wasn't it, young Midoriya?" Izuku nodded, his eyes fixed on the sleek green muscle car. "Yeah, he has an amazing quirk osmosis. But he doesn't want to be a hero." All Might's gaze lingered on Levin, a hint of suspicion in his eyes. He cleared his throat before turning back to Izuku. "Osmosis allows him to absorb anything. That's quite a powerful ability." Izuku's confusion deepened. "But what does it mean?" All Might's expression turned serious, his voice low. "We'll discuss that later. For now, let's focus on your visit." As they walked towards the UA building, All Might cast Levin a sidelong glance, his eyes clouded with concern. Izuku, oblivious to the tension, marveled at the campus. "Incredible." All Might smiled, his demeanor lightening. "Hopefully, you'll become a student here soon. For now, let's head to the principal's office. We can't waste time." A few hours later, Midoriya was subjected to hours of testing as the heroes scanned the watch and its connection to him. Recovery Girl had given him a full checkup, taking blood samples and other fluids. Midoriya was feeling a mix of emotions. On one hand, he was ecstatic to meet two pro heroes, Power Loader and Recovery Girl, and even got their autographs. On the other hand, the tests were far from comfortable. As Recovery Girl reviewed her notes and the data gathered, both she and Power Loader stood beside Midoriya. "The device has completely fused with you," Recovery Girl said, her tone serious. Midoriya looked confused and a bit worried. "Fused? You mean?" Power Loader chimed in. "While it looks like a watch, it's not just attached to your skin. It's latched onto your bones, your flesh, and has merged with your DNA." Midoriya blinked in shock. "So far, the device seems permanently attached to you," Recovery Girl added. "But it's also increased your healing abilities. Your body has changed, too. Your stamina and all your physical capabilities have improved." All Might, who had been quietly observing, asked, "How much would you say the boy has changed?" He'll still need to train physically," Recovery Girl said. "But in about 4 months, he could reach what we consider peak human condition, or at least peak human condition for someone his age." 4 months. All Might thought to himself, surprised. "With that, I could give him one for all much sooner than I originally planned. Now, if all the tests are complete, I'd like to test the boy in his alien forms, if you don't mind." A new voice spoke from the doorway. Izuku turned and saw a dog, bear, and mouse hybrid figure that he immediately recognized. "Principal Nizu. And you must be Izuku Midoriya. It's an honor to meet you," Nizu said with a smile. "Tashinori, I'd like to speak with you in private." All Might nodded as Nizu led him out. Before leaving, the principal turned back to Midoriya. "Oh, and please meet us in the training room afterward. We'll be testing the Omnitrix." Midoriya blinked in confusion. "Omnitrix?" Nizu paused for a second, realizing his slip-up, but then smiled. "Well, that nifty watch of yours should have a name, don't you think?" Midoriya nodded, not questioning one of the smartest beings on the planet. "All right." Nizu and All Might headed to the principal's office. When All Might entered, he noticed a man sitting inside, looking as though he desperately needed coffee. The man had long black hair and wore a scarf. All Might recognized him instantly. "Aizawa," All Might said. "Oh, it's you," Aizawa replied in a bored tone. "I thought this was a meeting for actual plumbers." All Might immediately became defensive. "Hey, I may not be an official plumber, but I've helped out in the past. And, by the way, I thought all the plumbers retired 5 years ago." Aizawa shrugged. "Yeah, they did. When Hisashi took down Vilgax, the alien threats dried up. But I've been hearing rumors that Vilgax is back. For Hisashi's family's sake, I hope it's not true." Nizu, seated at his desk, poured himself a cup of tea. "That's exactly why we're here." 13 and the others couldn't make it. Phil's off doing his own thing. He took a sip before continuing. "I've heard the same rumors about Vilgax's return. What makes things worse is that the Omnitrix is on Earth." Aizawa, who usually kept a neutral expression, looked shocked for a brief moment. "It's on Earth. We need to track it down if it falls into the wrong hands." Nizu interrupted. "All Might has already located it. The Omnitrix is attached to one Izuku Midoriya." Aizawa's mouth went dry. "Midoriya? His son?" Nizu nodded. Aizawa quickly responded, "We need to put the kid under protection. We need to. We won't be doing anything for now. I want to test the boy first. We'll observe his actions and then plan how to proceed," Nizu stated calmly. The pros nodded in agreement. All Might spoke up, "Speaking of which, should we tell the boy about all of this? The plumbers, the aliens, everything his father did?" "No," came the immediate response from both Nizu and Aizawa. All Might looked surprised. "What? Why not?" Nizu fixed him with a serious look. "You want to tell the boy that his father didn't die in a car accident, but was murdered? That the same being who killed his father is coming to Earth for the device on his wrist? And that if he doesn't defeat this being, the entire world could be destroyed? You want to put that kind of responsibility on him?" All Might remained silent, processing Nizu's words. "We'll inform the boy when the time is right," Nizu continued. "But right now it's far too risky. He'd panic, and that's the last thing we want." With that, Nizu clapped his hands together, his smile returning. "Now, let's see if this boy lives up to his father." After getting changed, Izuku exited the room and followed Power Loader to a massive gym. As they entered, Izuku noticed how vast and enclosed the space was, completely empty, perfect for a demonstration. Waiting for him were several pro heroes: Midnight, Cementos, Aizawa, All Might, and Nizu. Izuku, feeling the weight of their presence, bowed deeply in respect. "It's an honor to meet you all." Midnight chuckled. "Oh, you're quite energetic, aren't you?" "Greetings, young man," Cementos added with a nod. Aizawa, less enthused, sighed. "Let's just get this over with." Nizu, ever composed, turned to Izuku. "Now, Midoriya, if you could activate your quirk." Izuku swallowed hard, nerves gripping him. He was about to show them the Omnitrix for the first time. With trembling hands, he pressed the Omnitrix, a holographic figure appearing from the dial. He cycled through the forms before slamming down on the device. A bright green flash exploded in the room, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. When the light faded, Izuku was gone. In his place stood a new alien form, blue-furred and muscular. Hey, where did the kid go?" Present Mike asked, looking around in confusion. Midoriya, now the alien, examined himself with wide eyes, curious about the blue fur covering his body. "I was hoping for the fire guy," the alien muttered in slight disappointment, his voice deep and unfamiliar. "You're still learning to control these forms, correct?" Nizu inquired, observing him closely. The alien nodded. "Yeah, these powers just showed up yesterday. I'm not sure what they all do yet." "Interesting," Nizu mused. "Why don't you try running? See how fast you can go." The word run seemed to trigger something deep within the alien. His instincts screamed at him, pushing him into a runner's stance before he could think. Then, without warning, he took off. The effect was immediate. A massive gust of wind blasted through the gym, strong enough that Midnight struggled to keep her glasses on. Present Mick's jaw dropped, and his sunglasses shattered as they hit the floor. Clothes were ruffled, hair was blown askew, and several items were knocked over by the force of Izuku's speed. Izuku had become a blur of blue blur racing through the room at incredible speed. Even All Might couldn't keep up with the alien's movements, as Midoriya zipped from one side of the gym to the other, leaving only a whirlwind in his wake. When he finally came to a stop, his momentum carried him a bit too far. Not used to his newfound speed, he stumbled and crashed into the wall with a loud thud. Despite the impact, he managed to say, "Whoa," his eyes wide with amazement at the sheer power he had just experienced. The gym was dead silent as the teachers stared, their expressions a mix of shock and amusement. Midoriya looked around sheepishly, taking in the chaos he had caused. Teachers with ruffled hair, misplaced glasses, and slightly disheveled clothing. The boy immediately bowed in and apologized. I'm so sorry. The teachers quickly ruffled their hair back to normal. "Don't worry, kid. Your speed is truly something. I could barely track you moving that fast," All Might said, a grin on his face. "Indeed, young man, your speed is remarkable," Cementos agreed, nodding. "That kind of speed may be a displeasure to most women," Midnight added with a teasing tone. "Midnight," All Might and Aizawa warned in unison. "We talked about this," All Might continued. "Hey, he's not my student, so I have free reign," she retorted defensively. Midoriya turned red with embarrassment as Nizu spoke up. "So, Mr. Midoriya, There are 12 flying drones. I want to see what you can do. Try your best to disable them. You will have a minimum of 5 minutes. Hey, well, isn't that a little too much for the boy? All Might interjected with concern. All Might, you know what's out there. We shouldn't coddle the boy, should we? Nizu replied. All Might glanced at the principal before turning to his pupil. Only if he agrees to it. Young Midoriya? Izuku gave an unsure nod, clearly nervous. As the 12 drones flew from the ground and began to surround him, the teachers stepped back, watching in concern. The alien gulped, the beeping of the drones filling the room as the countdown began. As the drones activated, they immediately started firing. Izuku's legs trembled, fear evident on his face. He had never been in a fight before. Kevin usually handled everything for him. Even when Izuku tried to help, he often ended up beaten with a single punch. As the alien braced himself for impact, preparing to be shot down like a trapped animal, he suddenly realized that the bullets hadn't hit him yet. He opened his eyes to see them approaching in slow motion. Hey, they're moving so slowly, he exclaimed, momentarily surprised. But despite this realization, his legs still shook uncontrollably, paralyzing him with fear. He was terrified. Even though I have a quirk, I'm still this weak, quirkless wimp. I can dodge bullets, but I'm just standing here. Why? Memories of being put down flooded his mind, how everyone had called him Deku, how they labeled him weak, wimp, and other hurtful names that chipped away at his already fragile pride and self-confidence. As he teetered on the verge of giving up, a few words echoed in his mind, a sentence from the man himself. You too can be a hero. Izuku opened his eyes, and they glowed green like emeralds. Suddenly, he blasted off like a bullet, dodging the barrage of attacks aimed at his previous location. The teachers watched in awe as Izuku faced the 12 drones, which began firing relentlessly. With incredible agility, Izuku dodged every attack, leaping off walls and backflipping to avoid the hail of bullets. Not a single shot grazed him. The teachers were stunned, but Aizawa and Nizu wore disappointed expressions. He's only dodging, Aizawa said, his voice tinged with disappointment. As fast as he is, he's merely evading attacks. Time's running out. Nizu checked the timer. 2 minutes and 50 seconds remained. Determined to test Izuku's limits, the principal increased the drone's firepower, equipping them with missiles. Are you just going to keep running? Aizawa asked, his eye glowing with intensity, his floating scarf billowing. For 3 minutes and 10 seconds, you've been running and dodging. Nizu gave you 5 minutes to take down these drones, and you've wasted over half that time. The teacher's words cut deep. All Might says you're special, but I think you're just a kid with too much power and no potential, Aizawa said, frustration etched on his face. You can't become a hero, Midoriya. A missile launched, catching Izuku off guard. He stumbled backward as the blast hit the ground. The harsh words stung, and Izuku struggled to get back up. Everyone saw his struggle. Aizawa turned away, dismissing Izuku as a waste of time. But then, no, Izuku panted, standing up, his resolve etched on his face. Aizawa halted, his gaze snapping back to Izuku. I do have potential. I will be a hero. The alien shouted with passion and fiery spirit, his words resonating with those around him, reminding them of a familiar pro-hero and an old friend. The speedster stood up as the missiles armed themselves. He wiped his cheek, and everyone watched in confusion. Why isn't he running away? Midnight asked, concerned. Even All Might looked ready to step in. Kid, run away. As the drones closed in and launched their missiles, instead of fleeing, the boy crouched into a running pose. With a sudden blast, he took off with a sonic boom, causing everyone to cover their ears. He charged towards the missile, leaped into the air, grabbed it, and threw it back toward the drone, destroying it in an explosion. Everyone watched in awe as the boy faced the remaining drones. Without hesitation, he sprinted at top speed, grabbing another drone and using it as both a shield and a weapon. As 2 more drones opened rapid fire, he dashed forward, using the captured drone to block the bullets. He rammed into them at full force, leaping onto one drone before slamming it into another, destroying both with precision. The speedster didn't stop for a second. More bullets came from a nearby drone, but he used the damaged drone as a shield again. 2 other drones approached from opposite sides, both ready to gun him down. Acting quickly, the boy threw the broken drone like a frisbee at the drone ahead of him, then backflipped out of the way just as the two remaining drones shot each other down. Breathing heavily, the boy saw there were 4 drones left. Come on, Izuku. Think. I've studied every hero, especially those with speed quirks. I need to figure this out. I need to. Am I fast enough? Only one way to find out. The boy shouted, determination surging through him. Izuku bolted forward, rapidly closing the distance between him and the drones. As he picked up speed, a powerful current of wind formed in his wake. Faster and faster he ran, forcing the drones together. The sheer velocity began pulling them into each other as they smashed and collided. The boy pushed even harder, his speed creating a swirling vortex, the force of which kicked up dust and debris, forcing the teachers to shield themselves. The windstorm caused by his speed roared through the room, making it nearly impossible to see anything clearly. Finally, Izuku stopped, stumbling slightly as dizziness overtook him. As he came to a halt, the remains of the drones clattered to the ground like coins being dropped, their destruction complete. A loud beeping came from the Omnitrix, and a flash of green light engulfed the alien form, returning Izuku to his human self. The boy collapsed to the ground, breathing heavily, but he managed to push himself back to his feet. Nizu clicked the stopwatch, glancing down with a smile. 50 seconds remaining. This kid, Izawa muttered, a rare grin spreading across his face. Young Midoriya, when did he get so cool? All Might thought, astonished. Izuku, still feeling dizzy, asked, how did I do? Excellent, Nizu said, smiling brightly. And with time to spare. The small mammal then turned to All Might. Now then, young Midoriya, since the device is stuck to your wrist, All Might, it will be your responsibility to teach the boy. Everyone's eyes widened in surprise. You'll have plenty of time, Nizu continued. Think of this as a testing ground. How you train young Midoriya over the next 7 months will determine the results during the exams. Izawa nodded. Seems logical. We won't have much time because of our responsibilities, but All Might, considering your injury and everything, you'll have plenty of free time. Midnight chimed in. Didn't you expel your whole class, Izawa? Midoriya's eyes widened in terror. He expelled his whole class. Izawa shrugged. I still have my duties as a teacher, like the rest of you. And I'm a pro hero. I've got other stuff to handle too, he said. Then, with a grin, he added, besides, if the kid fails, it'll reflect on All Might as a teacher. Wouldn't want a teacher with such incompetence working here, would we? All Might, however, remained calm. I can assure you that young Midoriya will pass the entrance exam with flying colors. But until then, I'll need to help him learn fast. The UA entrance exam is in 7 months, so we need to prepare. One of the plumbers in the room added ominously, and prepare for what's coming. Vilgax. Midoriya gave a nervous smile before suddenly realizing something. Hey, I turned back to normal. You seem surprised, Cementos remarked. Well, yesterday I stayed in alien form for like an hour, until All Might knocked me out, Izuku admitted. He did what? Everyone turned to All Might, who was fidgeting awkwardly, his fingers pressed together guiltily. It was the only solution we could think of. We couldn't let him show up at home as a giant bonfire, All Might said defensively. And your first thought was to knock him out? Izawa asked, visibly annoyed. Nizu, his aura suddenly menacing, added, please find a better method of turning back to human form that doesn't involve All Might knocking you out. Both All Might and Midoriya shivered. Why yes, sir, they stammered in unison. Midoriya then perked up, sounding excited. But this confirms something important. Each transformation seems to be linked to me. If I'm unwell, the transformation is too. If I'm fatigued, I revert back to human. As the day came to a close, Midoriya and All Might stood on the beach, wrapping up their training session. Midoriya had noticed that moving the trash had become much easier. His stamina, strength, and speed had all noticeably improved. All right, young Midoriya, that's enough for today, All Might said, wiping some sweat off his brow. Now, we should focus on figuring out how you can transform back. Do you know any quirk users who specialize in transformation? Midoriya hesitated before answering. Not really, he said, but it wasn't entirely true. I do know a few people in my class, but they want nothing to do with me. All Might thought for a moment. Have you tried tapping the faceplate when you're transformed? That's literally the first thing I tried. Midoriya replied with frustration. Well, until we figure it out, it might be best to avoid transforming unless necessary. You definitely don't want your mother to find you in the form of a heat blast. Heat blast? Midoriya raised an eyebrow. Yes, your fire transformation. You should give them names to help distinguish between them. That makes sense, I guess, Midoriya nodded. All Might continued. Tomorrow, let's start categorizing all of your transformations and testing their abilities, all right? Midoriya nodded eagerly, a bright smile spreading across his face. For some reason, a phrase suddenly came to him, a cosmic, powerful feeling that felt both unfamiliar and strangely fitting. It's hero time. Midoriya's arsenal. 1. Heat Blast. 2. Diamond Head. 3. Goop. 4. Fast Track. 5. Brainstorm. 6. Forearms. 7. Stinkfly. 8. Ghost Freak. 9. Amphibian. 10. Spider Monkey. So, this was the end of part 1 of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.